Hey everybody! I'm currently hard at work on the next 2 videos for this channel. I've got another Simpsons project lined up, of course, as well as an extra review of a totally random show that I binged recently. I just couldn't help myself. But in the meantime, here's some bonus Simpsons content. I was, once again, a guest on the Simpsons Index, a podcast in which they review 3 episodes, one from each decade. This week's lineup was Livin La Pura Vida from Season 31, The Princess Guide from Season 26, and the veritable classic Lisa's Substitute from Season 2. Here's an excerpt from the show.
I was surprised. It didn't happen during, when Mr. Bergstrom was leaving, but Homer's speech, holy fuck, I was a mess. That was just so beautiful.
The ending of this episode definitely has a double whammy aspect to it, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. But it's so well balanced because it's not like he suddenly figures out how to talk to Lisa. I like that he doesn't, but he tries, and that's the important thing. And I even, just again, on the critical watcher, I never even really thought about how she even says, look, if you just want me to forgive you, and he cuts her off, he's like, no, I want to do this. I'm just not good at it. It's like, hello, feelings.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, how emotionally mature, the show is at this stage.
It's season 2.
Well, yeah, what surprises me about this one is, a lot of people will often say, yeah, the classic era is, 3 to 8 or 4 to 8 or something like that. And that's the problem with that, because, season 2 has some goddamn gems in it. And
yeah.
I
mean, let's be clear on this one. It's not a big laugher, but just as a character piece and in his emotional reaction is just stellar.
Yeah. And in one where they're dividing the attention between Lisa and Bart a bit, they both get their service. And, there could have been more to the Bart story, but I think it was just enough.
Yeah, I think in a worse episode, the Bart stuff would be seen as a distraction. That's what is this Bart story taking away from the Lisa story? Why is her story so rushed and incomplete? But because this one is written so well with how Lisa's storyline comes together, the Bart stuff just serves as a really nice, breezy change of pace for the story, and we don't actually lose anything from Lisa.
No, and as a good B story should do, and, and that they managed to dovetail it all at the end is, wonderful.
Yep, chef's kiss.
All right, let's see if we can find some bad things about this episode.
How dare you?
Jim, we'll start with you. For better or worse, feel free. What stands out to you from this episode?
So one of the things that stood out for me is the fact that Homer and Marge aren't even in the first act of this episode. The whole first act is all at Springfield Elementary. And I found that really interesting on the rewatch because... we all know where the story is going. It ends with a Homer-Lisa storyline. So the fact that the episode completely bypasses that and doesn't even bring Homer into the story until Act 2, when he's, laughing at, Mr. Bergstrom crying, that's really interesting that they were able to do that and it still works at the end.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I did not even think about that at all.
Yeah.
Because, I was thinking, because I knew these stories were a bit, water and oil. They didn't really mix together. But, starting out at the school and establishing all this stuff. And I liked how the Bart story, bled into the Lisa story. With Principal Skinner taking charge and doing class. Just I hear laughter upstairs. Something's happening with Bart Simpson. Well, not laughter, absolute traumatic horror.
Disgust. Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said about this episode. If you'd never watched a single episode before, you get it. Straight away. You when it starts off with there's chaos in Lisa's classroom and she's still reading, then you got that transition over to Bart and you get it without any pretext.
Yeah, they sort of merge the two stories together instead of just treating them completely, they even intersperse to each other where Lisa's looking at him out the window and everything. So it's this really interesting juggling act of Act 1, they're doing just Bart and Lisa stuff next together, and then they kind of blend Homer into the story. And ironically, Homer doesn't even have anything to do with Lisa until really the second half when they go to the museum. He's barely even in her storyline.
Yeah. I like how they introduce the whole Lisa's just flat out ignoring her father at this stage as well when they start up with Act 2 with her and Marge having that conversation and she's just trying to remind Lisa, hey, your father. And
I was going to ask about this because this has always stuck out. This is what stuck out to me, for better or worse. I've never understood this conversation. Like, I get it from a mechanical perspective of this is introducing very early on the distance between Lisa and Homer. But I don't know why Marge is just like, Lisa's like, oh, I had this really good day today. Yes, I had a good day with your father. It's like, what? Shut up.
You're centering yourself, Marge.
Yeah, I've never quite got it. But I mean, I understand it from a writing perspective, but I don't get it from a character's perspective.
Well, I interpreted it as like that she clearly views this as Lisa has like a little crush on the teacher, So I feel like Marge is trying to relate it to one of her crushes, I guess. And since Marge has only really dated Homer, I guess that's the only thing she can latch onto.
What I do take from it is, she's clearly very excited about this teacher. It's like, well, don't forget you've got this, father figure, literal father figure at home. You don't need to find one elsewhere. It just doesn't quite land in that sense. I kind of have to make that extra leap to figure out what's going on there. But that's me. Maybe I'm a dumb.
But then when they walk up the stairs and she mentions that he cried during Charlotte's Web, immediately Marge is like, I'm trying to show you this is how I feel about your father. And then just, bah, nerdy cried at a book. Oh, Homer.
Nerdy sad at Bookie Wook.
Oh, goodness. What stood out to me, though?
The other thing that stood out to me was more asbestos, more asbestos.
To hear the whole discussion, you can find the Simpsons Index on most all the major podcast platforms. I have linked to the descriptions to the direct downloads and the YouTube upload. Thanks to Elliot and BT for having me on the show. I was only moderately awkward this time. Hope everyone's having a nice week. I'll see you in the next video.